If you could change your name to any name, what name would it be?
Sean.
Sasha.
FARAS with a PH.
What is happening?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
Boy, you already go by Sean. What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is my Starbucks name.
Do you like the name Sean?
So I used it for a little bit, and I started liking it less. I loved it at first, but I started liking it less the more people call me that.
Did you go by that in high school?
No, college.
Oh.
Yeah. It
You're
was like a
trying to
rebrand, and I didn't like the rebrand.
In this culture, you're gonna get canceled for using a gentrified name.
Sasha.
That's a multicultural. Sean is a Pakistani name.
Pakistani?
Whatever.
She gentrified it herself.
A Desi name. What are you correcting me for? What did I say wrong?
You said Sean is a Pakistani name.
It is a Pakistani name.
Okay. She doesn't get it. It's fine.
Okay.
Sasha?
The way you said Pakistani.
Okay, it's a Pakistani name.
Sasha.
Why are you Sasha?
My friends say that my alter ego is Sasha, and a few times randomly
She's gonna say something
throughout
about
my
being
life.
fierce, aren't you?
No, a few times randomly throughout my life, I've had some people like come up to me and be like, "Hey, Sasha," and then another person was like, "Hey, what's your name? I feel like you should be a Sasha." So that name is just reoccurring throughout my life. So I feel like if I had another name that wasn't Amber, it would be Sasha.
Where does the Sasha Fierce thing come from? Do you guys know? Beyonce?
I'm pretty
She says
sure.
it in a song or something?
I'm pretty sure she like went by it or something.
I like any name that
look.
starts with an S. This is fire. So.
True.
Oh, that was her album. I Am Sasha Fierce.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I love the
her
name
third
Frost with a
song.
PH. I think that's amazing.
I
I think it's better. I think it's better than your name right now.
Oh
I
my
agree.
gosh.
I agree. With a PH would be just
That would
phenomenal.
be hard. That would be hard though.
Yeah.
No.
What?
You mean it would go hard?
What?
Sure. It'll go hard.
It'll go hard.
It does. It does.
Let us
It
know.
I'm gonna
does,
change
but
it.
I feel like it'd be difficult.
I'm gonna legally change it so that I can have the PH.
Do PHRAS.
I feel like people would pronounce it more the way that it's meant to be pronounced if it was with a PH.
No, they would still say Ferris.
FARAS.
It's actually pronounced FARAS.
Right, I feel like it'd be like, but like if you were to, Americanize that, it would be FARAS.
Okay.
Right? Am I wrong?
I don't think it makes a difference. I think people would just leave the PH and say it however they would do it with an F.
Anyways, I feel like this
you-
podcast has a name.
You know what sounds better?
Oh, not a good transition.
What?
Keep going.
What? You ruined
no.
it. That's
I'm
why.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to help you out.
What sounds better is the sound of this podcast.
Wow.
Because thank you guys for tuning in to an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer. Amber just lost my train of thought.
I'm so sorry, guys.
My name is Shimmer.
It's 2
My name
a.m.
is
right
Shimmer.
now.
My name is Shimmer.
I'm Paras, Paris. Oh,
I am Amber Sasha Fierce.
Wait a second. What if people started calling me Paris? If I had the
Yo,
PH.
That's fire.
Oh my god.
That's
I wouldn't
fire.
even correct them.
You know what else is fire? This
Paris
is brought
would be
to you by Alif Theory. That's what's fire. If you want to email us some cool questions, guys, who can email us? That's
Who?
the question. Who can email us?
Who can't email us?
Who can't email us?
People
Not your
been-
cousin.
Listen. Don't sign us up for spam
Yeah.
emails, okay?
Yo,
We know
getting
what you're
spam
doing.
emails.
We know what you're doing.
Mm.
You're taking advantage of us being so open and giving our email out there, and here you are getting in the way of nice, wonderful people who actually want to share their life with us and ask us questions, and you just want to sign us up for discounts on Groupon.
What's
And-
the
I mean,
funniest spam email
I don't mind the
that you saw?
discounts on Groupon.
Groupon is a discount website.
Listen,
Well,
if you have some good ones that are like beneficial
They're
to
fake.
the podcast.
Yeah.
No, they're fake. It's like I'm trapped in Congo right now.
Oh my god, no.
you just have to send me $1 million and
No, it's not even $1 million. It's like $1 million in Xbox and Fandango gift cards, and it's like that's so specific.
The people who have trapped me, just all they need is an Xbox. They need the PS5. Please send it over.
What's this PS5 hype?
I don't know, because we're gonna be talking about who can send their music in, and what genres can they send? What music genres can they send?
Only everything.
Only everything.
I want someone to send Bollywood samples.
Bollywood That's fire, actually. That'd fit in.
We need to befriend that dude who made Young Shah Rukh.
Yeah, and I would also like if you sent like a unique genre, like a genre bending, something that no one's ever heard. I don't know what that would be, but that would be cool. And where you can send your emails and music is strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com.
But no metal, no heavy metal.
He said let the man, he's a genre bender, okay?
He's a genre
You might
bender,
be, what are you, a water bender? He's a genre bender.
Genre bender.
Let the man
genre
bend.
bender. Yeah, let the man bend.
Bend
Yeah.
away.
So if you have heavy metal, we would, maybe a more intense episode, we would love that, right?
Wow.
Right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm
you
in.
can let your friends know where you listen to the podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, literally anywhere. And if you want to see our beautiful faces, guys, last week I disappointed you with the background. This week I went extra hard.
Yeah, you really did.
He's going so hard.
Tell them what's on my background.
It's so inspirational.
Everything is on your backyard.
Backyard.
It's so-
It could be his backyard. I
could
feel
be
like
my
I'm
background.
watching Planet Earth while I'm recording a podcast.
It's amazing.
It's both inspiring and just
Soothing.
beautiful, soothing,
Inspirational.
I think it really makes you pop. You know how like sometimes people might have like a blue jacket on, they have blue eyes, and it makes their eyes pop more. I feel like your nature is coming out by me seeing the nature in the background.
Wow, that was
Beautiful.
deep.
That was beautiful. And
Take
you
us
can
deeper.
find us in nature, and you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and all social
Find us in
media.
nature.
At Strange Flavors. And guys, if you want to be an executive producer of this podcast,
Uh-oh.
like our executive producer, Bobber Bagel,
Oh, snap. Oh,
we have
snap.
a simple link down below where you can help support this podcast to sustain future episodes. Literally, we have increased our production budget and everything because of Bobber Bagel, solely because of him.
We
Wow.
we can now have little sweets while we do the podcast.
Yeah.
Our mouth will no longer go dry, so we can afford to have
Wait,
little tiny. You know how your
I
grandma
never
gives
saw
you
these
those little.
sweets.
Look at
Oh,
your
well,
mic.
we could-
Where
You
are
got a
these
brand new
sweets at?
mic.
Amber
you
got a brand new mic.
Solely because of Bobber Bagel. Solely because of Bobber Bagel.
That's
Oh,
factually
okay.
incorrect, but it's
Yeah,
it
Factually
gets us there.
incorrect.
it is factually incorrect, but it's okay.
Yeah, so if you want to be an executive producer,
Him helping the podcast inspired me to get this mic.
yeah, and we hope
Ooh.
his bagel business is thriving because
Yeah. I started buying everything but the bagel seasoning solely because of Bobber Bagel.
wow.
Everything but the bagel seasoning.
Yeah. Have you never
What do you
heard of
mean?
it?
What is that?
It's a seasoning that has everything but the bagel. So it's like sesame, all the toppings that are on an everything
But there's no bagel.
But there's no bagel. It's everything but the
So it's
bagel.
just seeds.
It's like it has everything that's on an everything bagel. Just
How's
in the
that?
bottle.
That's seasoning,
How's that a bagel?
Everything but the bagel seasoning.
So that's not a bagel.
and you eat it. You just eat the seasoning.
No, you put it on like avocados and salads, like
Oh.
toast, anything. You put it on anything.
On both sides?
You can put it on a bagel too, but like that's boring.
Why would you put that on a bagel? Just buy the bagel with everything on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, but maybe people want a little extra pizzazz.
Yeah, and speaking of pizzazz,
Fine.
guys, amazing announcement. I'm telling you guys, this is the greatest thing that will blow your minds.
I'm peeing my pants right now.
Peeing my pants. I've been peeing my pants ever since we even conceived this idea.
Uh-oh.
Guys,
Wow.
July 1st.
Oh?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening?
July 1st,
Mm-hmm.
we are dropping ronalpono.com.
Stop.
Get out.
Stop.
ronalpono.com, guys.
I can't.
What?
Guys,
I can't.
you want to know what's on it? You want to know what's on it?
What's on it?
I
Shamir?
can't.
You can't know until June 1st. Until June 1st.
But please, we want to know what's on the website, Shamir.
No, you have to wait until June 1st
Oh my
because
God.
this is gonna change your life. It's gonna blow your mind.
Wow.
Everything is gonna be.
If
Changed.
right now I'm setting my calendar for July 1st for this launch to make sure that I am fully
Me
aware
too.
of what's happening.
I
Oh
just
my
locked
God,
it
me
in.
too
I'm
right now.
setting my calendar
Even though I knew
right
about
now.
it, I'm changing.
If
it
you
too.
guys want to know before it drops, at Anonymous, let them know to expose,
expose it, yeah.
and they will. Just at
Okay.
Anonymous, yo, what's going to be on RonaldPaulo.com,
Yeah.
lead story.
And
Yeah.
guys, this announcement's actually a worldwide exclusive premiere. You guys are the first to know this.
That's why he has that background.
That's why I have
Because
this background.
the penguins are listening, the jellyfish are listening, the lions are listening. So everyone across the world is hearing this right now.
You
Wow.
are a special listener if you're hearing this.
Listen, I'm a part of the squad and don't even know what's on this website. I'm excited.
Wow.
And that's not unique because Amber doesn't know what's going on 90% of the
Ever.
time.
Even though we tell her, she doesn't.
Ever. Hey guys, I'm pretending like I don't know so I could be one of them.
Think you're pretending.
All right, cool. I'm sorry.
Yo, that's an awesome announcement, and Shamir, thank you for breaking that all down. I think that you're incredible at what you do, and I want to shout out another person who's incredible at what they do, and it's Ahmed.
I thought you were saying
Ahmed is our
Robert
good
Bagel
friend.
again for some reason. I thought we were giving
Ahmed
Robert
is our-
Bagel another shout out.
No, Ahmed is our great friend who appears on the podcast here and there, but he's been doing a great job of posting a bunch of social media clips and YouTube clips for you guys that if you want to see little highlights of the episodes on Instagram, and you guys have been awesome in engaging with those and sharing them and on YouTube as well. That is all credit to Ahmed because he's putting in a lot of hard work.
Good
and
job,
Yeah,
Ahmed.
it's-
it
it's
was
awesome.
hilarious the other day. He's just like posted up like this with like his mouse, and he's just like editing away, looking like he's about to hack something. But it's
Yeah,
cute.
he's.
If you're wondering, Ahmed is the cheetah from Ronald Pono.
Yeah.
Hey, he's more than that. Okay,
No, but that's an iconic thing.
it is.
Like
Yeah.
there couldn't be a better role than being the cheetah.
But Ahmed
The
himself
cheetah.
is iconic.
Oh,
Like he
for
is
sure.
the icon.
For sure.
He
Facts.
he put cheetahs on the map. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
cheetah,
Wow.
like
before Tiger King, like he was.
That's oh my god!
where do you think that came from?
yeah.
Wow.
No,
He
that's
inspired
awesome.
Carol Baskin.
All right, we don't associate.
Oh, my bad.
It's fine. No, I'm just kidding. All jokes aside, guys, we appreciate you guys supporting us in everything that we do, and it's awesome that we're continuing to be able to do this because you guys, continue to support us. So your support means the world to us, and we love you for that. Okay, so today, before we get into the guest, we do want to address kind of like what's been going on in the world a little bit, because it is a really weird time to be living. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been learning a lot of things that I wasn't taught in school that I had no idea about. And it's been great because, I think a lot of people are confused during this time, and that's okay. But at the same time, we're not supposed to have the answers. Don't put that pressure on yourself, and don't put that pressure on others, I would say. If people are making an effort to learn, continue doing so. I know that for myself, like, there's just a lot of stuff that I didn't realize that I didn't know, or I've heard of things, being problematic, or, have heard it historically in a little bit of a different way than we're hearing now. But because I don't know that, I have a lot of amazing friends and people that I like supporting that are sharing that information. And even if you're just sharing something that you learn, I think that you're doing a great part in, everybody just educating each other and continuing to learn more, and not relying on just like school or the news or whatever it may be to give us that information. So, I want to encourage everybody to continue doing that. For example, I've heard of this crisis going on in Yemen for a while, and I didn't really know much about it. I guess it's also like my own fault as well that, you know, we hear about things that happen to kind of either around us in where we live. So, you know, in Maryland or even in the States, or sometimes, you know, we look at things that are happening in South Asia because that's relevant to us and our communities. But sometimes you get overwhelmed because it's just like, well, there's so much going on in the world, you know, I guess this counts as one of those things. But, you know, just finding out recently while everything else was going on that Yemen is facing the largest humanitarian crisis in the world and has been facing that for a while. And I think it's only being sort of highlighted right now because, you know, they were already going through war, hunger, poverty, and then on top of that, now they're facing COVID-19. And again, I want to share something that I saw that kind of helps put things into perspective better than I'll be able to. So I want to share this with everybody listening right now. This is something that comes from an Instagram account, the Defiant Movement. And they said, if Yemen was 100 people, so put this into perspective, if Yemen was, you know, just 100 people, 80 of them need humanitarian aid to survive. 60 have nothing to eat. 58 have no access to clean water. 52 have no access to health care. And 11 are malnourished. But Yemen isn't 100 people. Yemen is 28.5 million people. So just, I mean, if you just think about that, I mean, how difficult of a situation for people, you know, going through something like that. And I really hope, you know, as things come more into light and we get more information, we're able to continue pushing that information out there and demand that our leaders step up and do something about it. So I wanted to share that and let you guys know that, you know, while we don't know all of the answers and we can't make this change happen overnight, continue educating yourself. I've linked below an article which shares 6 ways that you can help out right now. There are different petitions you can sign if you don't have money. And of course, there are really great organizations that are doing awesome work that you can donate to if you would like to. And I would encourage, again, like, make sure to look up where that money is going, how you're helping, and just continue to share information because, again, I know that it's a lot of pressure because I think all of us are feeling that. And you know, using
especially right now, I think with everything that's already been happening domestically and then having to like kind of bear that weight too, I can only imagine what it's like for the people in Yemen. If it's hard for us to even, like, for me, I mentioned to you guys, like, it's hard for me to even approach that information because I honestly feel like my heart can't handle it. But the reality is, imagine living that situation.
Yeah,
exactly. So again, it's linked below. Please check it out. Continue to share that information. The second thing I wanted to share for today was Juneteenth. So truthfully, I didn't know what Juneteenth was.
I had no clue before.
I've seen it on my calendar before, but I didn't know what it was because I've never heard of it in school.
Yeah.
So
I
again,
actually learned about it in like from a TV show. Like
really,
recently.
do you remember what it was?
It was called Watchmen, but it wasn't even like super like African American related. They did have like a lot of African American characters, but it was and they talked about that. Yeah. So before we go any further, I do want to share for people that don't know. Again, this is coming from another account that I think did a really great job at explaining some of the facts here. I am Asa Duggar. I hope I said that right. But she made this awesome post that kind of just says everything clearly, and there's a lot more to this. But basically, Juneteenth celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. Most Americans celebrate the 4th of July as Independence Day, but she said, let's be clear that black people were not free. So, you know, we always think of July 4th as Independence Day, but black people were not free yet. She goes on to, with this slide that says, Texas was the last state to abolish slavery and the first state to recognize Juneteenth as an official state holiday. Juneteenth still has not been declared a national holiday in America.
Yeah.
So she encourages people to take off work to reflect and celebrate anyway. And the last thing that's really interesting, it says President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, yet the news of freedom landed in Galveston, Texas 2.5 years later on June 19th, 1865. So for 2.5 years, in the Deep South, there were plenty of people that didn't even know that they were free yet.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so this was really interesting, and I've been reading as much as I can, and trying to absorb what I can right now. But again, it's so weird that, you know, we have so many holidays which we don't always know the history of, but because even in school we're just so used to celebrating them and doing little crafts and little
I feel like
assignments
this was
around them.
important though. Like, I feel like this should have been a part of our American history class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
there's no like I remember learning about slavery and the Holocaust, but I feel like this was.
I also just found out about Black Wall Street. I didn't know that was a thing either. I had never heard of Black Wall Street, and there was this whole, you know, town and like where
they literally
black people were succeeding, and it was taken down. And
Yeah.
I would encourage you guys to look that up too, because I don't want to speak, you know, wrong information about it. But it's just so crazy that all of this is shoved away and it's not put in front of us.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of everybody doing the work and bringing this information out, and everybody who is using their influence in that way. Again, I'm super thankful to like all of our friends that we know online, and that's what makes, you know, the internet a beautiful place, where if you didn't know before, and you surround yourself with people who are, you know, seeking the truth, it's awesome that you can learn in the process. And if you didn't know, by the way, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
There's so much that we didn't know. I think that, you know, sometimes white people especially get really scared in all of these situations because they feel like maybe there's a lot of blame being put on them, but that's not what it is. Nobody is against white people, or nobody who's actually, you know, doing the right thing and seeking the truth is doing that.
And I think that, like,
yeah.
if you're able to admit that you didn't know something and that, like, you now know it, or you're, like, learning from it, like, I feel like that's way more respectable than just pretending like you, like, oh, I know it, I just, you know, I'm not going to speak for whatever it is. Like, I think there's a lot to learn for all of us. There's a lot of things that we don't know, and it's not necessarily our fault for coming across in history, but now that we are being made aware of it, I do think it becomes our responsibility to do our research.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe in freedom, if you believe in justice and some other important American values, then you don't put a condition to them. And anybody that understands that people are truly just wanting to be free and they want justice will not get offended or scared to stand up for what's right.
Yeah.
And before we transition to the guest, there was an interesting tweet that I saw that kind of has to do with a lot of the influence on social media. So it's this guy, Neil Strauss, and he said, social media posts used to be a reflection of real life, but at some point, real life became a performance for social media. There is likely no turning back, only the next step forward into the hall of mirrors. I think that this might be coming from a place of, I know, for example, I've been seeing some people that are, there's this account on Instagram called Influencers in the Wild, and it's influencers who are holding up a sign in a protest or posing in front of police, or doing something silly during these protests just to say,
or pretending like they're helping and like building things up, or like being a part of like, or at least in that environment of things being broken down, but like then walking immediately away from it.
And even before all of this, you know, before all of these movements started to rise, I think that Neil has a point here. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think there's a truth to what he's saying about, you know, that social media used to be a reflection of life, but now life is a performance for social media?
I totally agree. I think, like, especially for people that aren't like social media or in term, like, their profession's not on social media, like they work normal, and then for their friends and stuff, I think it's even sometimes a lot of the times like more amplified for them. Like, they go on trips and they're like, oh, let me show my friends what I'm doing, and then they're not really, like, obviously we have influencers, you know, taking advantage of that for their career, you know, doing stuff like that, just like going on trips, trying to make people jealous and like showing that they're on trips even though they may not fully enjoy it, and do it just for like a picture or something. And it is kind of sad. I don't know.
I think it's a similar conversation to, you know, when YouTubers used to film themselves doing good deeds, and you know, it would kind of promote them in that way, and people would say like, okay, well, you're just doing it in front of the camera, but then it did inspire some people to also do something good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that this is not a new idea. If you think about it, you know, in the capitalist society that we live in, this is a corporate formula where they will do things to have a good PR presence for people, and then they can write it off in their taxes, and it's actually beneficial to them because when they support some sort of a social movement, it helps them amongst people, but then it also helps them financially. So now that people are their own business in social influencing, I don't think that it's just their fault. I think that this is a formula that you know, works for a capitalist society.
I'm kind of stuck somewhere in the middle, to be completely honest. And the reason why is because, like, you know how they say, like, oh, being woke is a trend now. Like, oh, like, being woke is like, oh, people are just doing that to be cool.
So should you not be?
And that's where I'm stuck in the middle. It's like, okay, yeah, but at the same time, they're probably influencing others around them from it, but at the same time, is it authentic? But at the same time, there's still something beneficial coming out of it. So again, we've talked about this in the past. A lot of things have to do with your intention, but at the end of the day, it's just hard, because even if a company, for example, going back to your, what you were saying, even if a company does something for PR, the fact that they put that, you know, out there means something to the others. It's sending a message. So it's like, even though it might not be authentic, there's still a positive coming out of it. So it's just like a weird middle place for me.
Yeah, and
sure.
I think at the same time it is pushing companies to be more like actually like genuine. I don't know if it's genuine,
Aware.
but like they are being more aware. Like Nike is somebody that, like, you know, sponsors Colin Kaepernick and like, I don't know how genuine that is, but I feel like it is pretty genuine because he accepts, you know, that sponsorship or whatever, and like that ad. So I feel like more companies are saying, okay, like, being actually good is probably good for me, and in turn they might actually start ending up being good.
It's nice that these days people are not just accepting that bare minimum of them making an ad or making a post for something,
Right.
but they're saying, okay, cool, now put your money where your mouth is, and we want to see what you're actually doing about it. And I think that
even making strong statements, like Ben and Jerry's, like, I was really surprised by what they put out today, and it was literally because it was on brand, but it was also very aware of society. It was a big bowl of ice cream, like Ben and Jerry's, so like big bowl of ice cream, and it said U.S. police budget 115 billion. And it had a scoop being taken out, and it was basically somebody scooping out different little pieces, and it said affordable housing, job training, education, mental health counseling, substance abuse treatment. Like, it was interesting.
So taking a little bit of ice cream away from the bigger police budget and using that budget in little bowls. Creative, on brand.
Exactly. And like, that was, like, in a way more powerful because it was like more authentic to themselves.
Yeah. Well, the owners actually went out to the protest and stuff, and they I think one of them almost got arrested because they were so involved. So you can tell, like, you know, with a post like that and you work backwards, it's like, oh, they are actually very genuine. They are actually believe these things, and they.
Well, so then we know the answer, right? I think when it comes to social influencers, you can't just stop at a picture and or a post.
Yeah, I think we're also getting smarter. Like, people are starting to learn when people are more fake, and like, I think, sorry.
Yeah, and also, like, I wouldn't. It's funny the things that people you know, do for a picture or a video or something. We're there all the time, so I'm never looking at somebody like if that's what they do in that way, that, like, if they're making themselves look silly in public for a photo or video, unless it's harming other people, unless it's disrespectful in some way, and also in this case, if it's you know, taking over a movement in an inauthentic way. So
For
we would
clout.
I think we just want to see
Yeah.
at the end of the day people's
we're-
intentions.
We're like not perfect. Like we, you know, do
sure.
YouTube. We do YouTube. You know, we have a podcast. Like obviously, there's some variations. We're not like on one side, you know, completely. Like we do stuff for performance sometimes, and we do this. So we're not perfect either.
Yeah, I think everyone's learning, and that's the main thing here.
Yeah.
With that, I do want to introduce the guest who shares a little bit about how he deals with social media and the separation between real life and how he's perceived online. So you know this stranger from his hilarious TikToks as the relatable Imam. It's hilarious. He's been a rising influencer in the Muslim community, but he's also gotten himself in a bit of Twitter trouble while trying to handle the internet fame. He's here to break that down with his thoughts on all of that and balancing a busy work schedule while being authentic to his art and a whole lot more. So everyone, please welcome our guest, Imranye. Okay, fire. What up? Imranye, is that how you say
similar.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, very, right to the point. Why the Kanye type thing? Just you Kanye fan?
Kanye fan, maybe not as much the music as I am kind of like the mindset of Kanye West.
Interesting.
Wow.
Why?
Yeah, like a lot of what he stands for is as a creative person, like he's someone who does a lot of different things. And I identified with that. And then also like he struggled a lot with, mental health and stuff like that, which I struggled with as well. So I feel like I identify with Kanye.
Did you like his music a lot at first?
Like, I don't really listen to his music that much. Like, even though I, pulled up, the same name and everything, you would think, but just, kind of everything that he stands for as far as like doing music.
Like the Kanye mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like just,
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of your family is something that's, super important to Kanye. That's like kind of the center of everything he does. Like religion, whether or not our religion is center to everything Kanye does. Giving back to community, stuff like that.
When he was going through his whole like TMZ phase and all that, is that kind of were you like standing up for him when people?
Definitely not. Definitely
okay.
not. But I understood, right? I tried to, seek.
Not specifically like the comment about slavery, but like in general about when that was when he released his Yay album, right?
Yeah.
So when he was having that sort of we'll call it a mental health breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when you were kind of like relating to him and seeing?
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's about like a year. And so I guess I picked up the name like a little over a year ago, actually. It's only been a year.
Okay.
Yeah, and part of it was like, it was short enough. It was like memorable enough. It was available on all platforms. And I thought it was easy to say, but I get a lot of Imranye.
Yeah.
Imranye.
So I'm like, it's Imranye like Kanye. Like, it's pretty simple. Like,
So
yeah.
were you in the motive of like trying to start something when you're picking this name?
I don't know, actually. To be honest, people think I'm a lot more calculated than I am when it comes to these things. One thing I just like to have is I've always wanted to have just the same handle across all social media. That's just like, it's just cool. You know what I mean? And I never went out of my way to be like, yeah, I want to build like this big following, this and that. It was always just kind of chasing what was fun. So yeah, there was no grand master plan or anything like that. It was it was available and it's like
so we know you from like the Imam videos where you're they were TikToks and they were posted on Twitter. That's where I saw most of them. Like all our friends were sharing them, and it's pretty much why don't you explain it a little bit? Those videos.
Let's see. So there was a point in my life a little over a year ago where I had moved to California. I was making music like super heavy. Like I had like a full studio in my bedroom. So every day after 5 p.m. I'd come home and make music. That's kind of, that was like, a lot of trap, a lot of, or whatever, honestly, whatever it was. Like, it was like, I'm from New York, right? Even though I'm from upstate New York, like here, music is always just like one of those things you do. Like you're never like a musician. It's just one of those things you do, right? Like you're chilling with the homies, throw on some freestyle beats, and just start making fun of each other. Like it's always something to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of grew up in that environment, like the freestyling, the study halls type stuff. So music has always been like pretty big part of my life. And then I got, really into making beats and stuff like that. But after I moved to California, I started going to the masjid more again. And I started like memorizing Quran again. And then it came to the point where like Mondays and Wednesdays I was at the mosque, Tuesdays and Thursdays I was in my bedroom making music. And I was like, I love creating. I love making stuff. Like I'm a very creative person, but like this just doesn't really work that well, right? I told myself like I gotta pick one, and nobody really my imam, my sheikh, like he didn't like influence me or anything. He didn't say anything at all. I didn't even tell him I was making music until after I quit. Okay. So he didn't. And part of that was because he used to also be a musician, right? So like he knows that struggle, right?
True.
So I really sat down one day and I was thinking like, I'm a very creative person, but like I need to find a better outlet because these things really just don't go together. So I made some very sincere dua that Allah gives me something that replaces that, right?
Okay. Is everybody from?
In general, mainly because like the city where I'm from, Albany, I went to school with like, Zahra, the Muslim thick.
Okay.
Yeah. So we went to the same university. Yeah, so like I saw her like popping off and everything. I was like, oh, this seems like pretty cool. Like, give it a shot. And then so I knew I wanted to create some sort of different type of content. I decided that YouTube was going to be the medium, not TikTok. And so I had been writing for like a couple of weeks, like just ideas whenever I had them, like in a notepad on my phone. One of the ones was I watch a lot of those like RDC World YouTube videos. I don't know if people are familiar with that. It's more like inner city humor. But one of the styles that they do are like very short, like 3 to 4 minute videos of like when your blank is blank, right? You know what I mean? So it's like when when your Chick-fil-A guy does delivery, right?
Okay.
Very short form videos, like very funny, like extremely hilarious. So I had that sketched out as like when your imam tries to be too relatable, right? But I didn't have enough for like a full 3 to 5 minute video. I only had like a couple. I had like 3 or 4 like really good lines. Yeah. So then I was like, I want to post these on Twitter, but like Twitter doesn't really seem like appropriate. Like, at that time I had, very low self-esteem surrounding the content I put out. So I was like, maybe I was like a little insecure about that. So I was like, why don't I just put it out on TikTok? So I put it out on TikTok. I put out the first one and it just starts blowing up like 20K views. Like meanwhile, like I'm in Costco.
Which one was that? What was the first one? Because I remember seeing the first 4, I think.
The Fortnite one.
Okay, so
the kids will stay up late playing Fortnite, but cannot pray the last fourth of the night, right?
Amazing.
So like I think I recorded maybe like the first 2 or 3, and then I was just at Costco. Yeah. Like I just went to Costco with my boy Neil. Like it's just something we do.
Shout out Neil.
Shout out, big shout out Neil Vishwanath, you know what I'm saying?
He said that's just something we do casually.
Yeah, nah, like sometimes after work we just like, yo, let's go to Costco. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got a Costco card. I don't have a Costco card. You know what I'm saying? At that time, he had a car. I was driving a Miata, right? So I couldn't fit any groceries in my car anyway. So homeboy would just pick me up in the Avalon. We'd go to Costco. So yeah, he scooped me. Like we're going to Costco, and I'm just like, my phone is like blowing up. I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on?
After the first video.
I think it was the first 2 or 3. Okay. But I dropped them like this. Like I'm not one of those people who really cares about like timing of posts or this or that. Like maybe I should. I don't really know. Like TikTok's pretty saturated now, so I should care more. Yeah, so I just putting them out, whatever, and then like my phone's just blowing up. Like we're in the middle of Costco. I'm just like, holy crap, like this is popping off. And then I just started thinking of more from there. So one of the ones I actually made one in the Costco parking lot with a stop sign.
Okay.
I forgot what it was. At this point, I made so many, I forgot most of them. But yeah, once that started picking up, I saw like a lot of big TikTokers like started following me, and then a lot of them started copying the format too. So
like of that exact like relatable imam.
That exact, yeah. So my boy Zunair, he was like he had like around like 10,000 followers at the time. Now he's at like 100K, mashallah. He picked it up and he was doing some stuff too with that, and I was like, yo, this is like really, I should just keep making these. So I just kept making them. and they just popped off from there. But
Yeah. Like, what was this kind of your first exposure to that much attention?
I mean, I've always had like, I guess with Twitter, I've always kind of had like been able to go viral a little bit here and there, right? But I had never
Off of tweets?
Yeah, off of tweets. But like a video is different, right?
Sure.
I guess this was like my first experience really like setting a trend almost. I don't want to say that, but you know, I have to be self-aware about what it became.
Especially
you know?
within a community. Like, I
Yeah.
think, you know, when you talk about someone like Muslim Thick, or, you know, I would say that, you know, you came up in a similar sort of light where people think of it as like, I guess it's Muslim fame, like,
Yeah,
quote
which is
unquote.
fine with
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah.
This is my community. Like I always want to give back to my community. I always want to do stuff for my community, right? And it's fun. Like, you know, my after work, like I only hang out at the masjid or with my Muslim friends for the most part, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of cool to just, you know, have some pull in that community. And it's opened up a lot of doors in like in terms of networking as well. I think that's been the biggest, right? Like,
Wow.
Especially like notably like Mufti Wasim Khan, Muhammad Wasim Khan from Dallas. He's a amazing connection that I met through just this whole TikTok stuff. Like he just DM'd me like, yo, this is really funny. And I told him like, you know, we were just talking from there. We built up a relationship. And then he ended up pulling through to California like 2 weeks later than he was supposed to. Like I dipped out of like, a wedding reception to go hang out. And I was like, that was insane. That was my biggest TikTok.
Oh, nice.
The one with him.
Wow.
And
Okay.
also like he introduced me to like a lot of people too.
Is
because,
this
you
the
know,
one that was in the car?
Yes, this was the
Okay.
one that was in the car. That's my biggest TikTok.
What did you say in it? Do you remember?
So it was the one. I asked him. So we did like he has a series called Fiqh or Fiction,
Okay.
right? Where he does like Instagram questions and people, you know, it's basically people asking for fatwas over Instagram. So I was asking him, I was going through like with him, you know, before this, I was like, yo, like what are some very common questions you get asked? Right. And a lot of them were like, I was like, it's a little too edgy for me, right? A little too, and he felt that way as well. But one of the ones he got asked a lot about was the fades, like the haircuts, right?
Yeah.
And so we're sitting, just to paint the picture, we're sitting in Maulana Ridwan's house in San Francisco. I had just met this guy too, right? Like literally everything happened just like spontaneously. We're sitting in his living room. This guy's like giving us chai or whatever. Mufti Wasim's flight is in like, you know, 45 minutes and we're still drinking tea. I'm coming up with ideas here. And I was like, the third thing I said was like, he said, you know, I said, you know, are fades haram? And then I was like, wait, I'm trying to think of it, you know, like a punchline. I was like, you're worried about fades while the youth are fading from the masjid, right? And so once I came up with that, I was like, yo, this is the one. We're in his house and we filmed it like 4 times. But like, I think the lighting was weird, the audio was weird, and then like his delivery was a little off. So we had to leave, and I was like, and he was like, "Yo, we're
It's
not
gotta
leaving
be
without."
right.
And I told him like, "Look, we gotta do this right. We're not leaving without making this TikTok."
Yeah.
So we hop in my car, right? Meanwhile, this dude's flight is in 35 minutes. It's a 20-minute drive. Like he's just stress free. He's like, "Yeah, you know, I'll be fine, inshallah, whatever." Right? We get in the car and then we do it. I told him like we did it once. It didn't go well. The second time I told him, I was like, look, when you're looking at the phone, like look past the phone and just really project your voice, right?
Directing the whole thing.
And I was like, dude, you got this. So we did it. We shot it that one time. And I think it was just short enough to where, like as people were laughing at the punchline, like they were still watching the video. So like it looped again, right?
You know, that's what's good that you do. It's always like you cut it off right when you're like right at the end when you say Allahu Akbar or something. And it's like it works.
Yeah, people just keep viewing it, right? So I didn't realize I was doing that until after. For me, it was like I'm a very giggly person, so I would just start dying at the end of every single one of these, right? Like if you kept the camera going, like you would just see me just like giggling, and I'd like lose the character or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So
I think I saw a video one time of you making one of those.
Yes. Yeah.
And then and you were like getting looks from around.
Yeah, so that was
you
in
did it
San Diego
public.
actually. Yeah. So I was making that at like some mall or something in San Diego, and there was like a bunch of like white dudes around us who were just staring. It's like a super bougie part of San Diego. I don't know why.
Yeah.
We were
So
there,
did your
yeah,
TikToks
and
really start blowing up on Twitter or on TikTok first?
They blew up on Twitter first, I would say.
Okay,
I
true.
would say, yeah.
And you said that.
well-
Go ahead.
No, because when I started making TikToks, I would really just use TikTok as the platform to like make the video, but the
Mhm.
intention was always post on Twitter. Right?
Okay. That
'cause
makes
you have
sense.
the editing features and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
And then you said that like at this time that TikTok's more saturated. Do you think that like kind of blowing up had to do with the fact that not everybody was making TikToks at that time?
oh, 100%,
Yeah.
100%, I think. Because I think at that time it was a very pivotal moment because there were finally more like consumers of the TikTok content in the Muslim space than there were people making it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think around that time it was very taboo to make TikToks. Like people were like, oh, that's like, it was cringe. It was cringe. Let's call it that, right?
And it
That
was
is
for
what it
little
is.
kids.
Exactly. Yeah, it was for little kids. It was cringe, whatever. But for me, I was just like, oh, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna post these on Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's become a lot more acceptable for people to make TikToks. Like when quarantine first started, everyone was doing like the don't rush challenge, and now they're doing like, you know, the wipe it down challenge, everything. You know, you see everybody doing it, right?
Once the
So
celebs get on,
naturally,
it's over.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So
Becomes a corporate thing. What was your immediate reaction to getting like all that attention and being shared everywhere?
oh my God, it took a toll on me. And like initially, like it gives you like a little bit of a high, right? And then you realize that like you're probably only gonna go viral like once in your life, right?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like even that, like people chase that, but it's like
Yeah.
it's only gonna happen maybe once if you're good, 3 to 4 times in your life, right? Like we don't hear about like Fousey Tube anymore, right? We don't hear about Dean Squad anymore. You know what I'm saying? But they popped up, they went viral 3 or 4 times.
I feel like Fousey's like past that stage.
Like, oh my God,
Anytime he
come
pops
on.
back up, it's
Yeah,
like he's in that like YouTuber community.
that's true. Yeah, so he's kind
I
of out
think.
of the Muslim community, unfortunately. Like
Yeah.
as far as like his reach and stuff, right? Like he's like a proper YouTuber doing like all the clickbait stuff, you know, making the good content and all that.
Yeah.
But you know, especially within a community, like you're not gonna go viral more than once or twice, right? Like it's pretty hard.
Sure.
So after that, like you have to come to terms with like you have to really correct your intentions. Like, okay, well, what was I going for with this? What are my intentions with this new platform that I have built? And I was very reckless. I was very reckless because I thought it was like before. I thought I could say what I want to say, thought I could do what I want to do. But then obviously, you know, you really start to think and you really like realize that like, you know, people take what I say to heart and they really like.
Did you receive backlash for being as open as you were before?
Of course. I think part of it is obviously like I was very out of pocket on Twitter before. I continued to be very out of pocket. But another part of it was I feel like I suffered a little bit from that sort of like Nav effect, not to put myself anywhere near him.
What's the Nav effect?
So Nav is essentially he's someone who like makes good music, right? I mean, I'm a fan, obviously, because I'm a brown dude. But he doesn't fit the typical image of somebody who should be receiving the level of attention that he's receiving, right?
Okay.
I would say I suffer from that, right? Because it's like I'm like just like a short, chubby Indian nerd kid, right, in his room, like yelling at his camera, right? That doesn't fit the typical like when you think of like famous like Muslim people, right? They fit into, you know, they tend to be you know, like more attractive, like more like movie stars, you know, that like artist type of thing. TikTok dude who's like sits in his room and like yells at his camera, like doesn't really fit in that image that people think that of like, oh, like average
person.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like and it's not, I mean, obviously like I'm not saying I'm an ugly person or anything by any means.
No.
But it's like there's an image that people have in their head of like what a famous person should look like. And I definitely don't feel like I fit into that, you know?
Okay.
Sure. Bro, in the process, you broke my heart.
Yeah, what's the situation that happened between y'all?
No, so I mean,
I've been waiting for this one.
I'll explain from my end what I saw initially, and then I'll let him take it from there. So,
So you guys, just to use some backstory, you guys have beef, right? Or had beef?
I think
had beef.
There was never beef.
It was me. It was him trolling, me trolling. Is back and just go ahead, explain it.
Okay, go ahead.
So obviously we see this guy blowing up. I see kind of a thread of his TikToks, mad funny. They're getting shared, and I'm sharing them too. I'm like, you know, this dude is hilarious. Like he knows, and from our background, obviously with what we do with our skits and Ramadan videos and stuff, you know, I always appreciate somebody who's doing something that can actually make me laugh as well. So sharing this thing, and then I'm following him, and he was tweeting like crazy. It was like, you know, however many people I follow, it was like I feel like I was seeing 75% of Imran.
And I'll come back to that in a bit. Don't worry.
Sure. Yeah. And so like a lot of the stuff was funny, but some of the stuff was also like, I was like, whoa, like this dude is like really taking advantage of this high right now. And which also I can relate to because we've been there like, you know, many times before as well. But anyways, I think I think I had replied to you. You had said something about like, can anybody tell me how not to go like how to handle Muslim fame or something like that. And I replied back and said something like, don't go full Fousey tube mode.
I remember that. Yeah.
Something along the lines of that. And then the next thing I know, my thing is quote tweeted by Imran, and it says, bro, like, don't act like you didn't used to bully me a year ago. And to me, that is like, whoa. I was just like, because I do troll people all the time and stuff. So, but bullying is a different topic. And I was like, do I know this person? And like, then I got confused, and then I started getting mentions, and it's like, yo, yeah, get him. And I was just like, am I getting canceled right now?
Imranye army.
Yeah.
Bro, after that, I realized how powerful they are.
Yeah.
Like, they are like, I have to be very careful. But I will say, you know, to your point, I think at that point in my life, at that point with my like kind of journey with social media, like the ego was through the roof, right? And I think, you know, it even pushed to the point where like I was forgetting to pray, right? You know, say like the basic things, right? I was forgetting that all of this attention and everything is a test from Allah. Like this platform that I have is a test from Allah. It's not something that I built by myself, right? Like millions of things had to come together in order for this to even happen. But you know, when you're at that point, of course, exactly, right? Like there's no playbook to handling like an immense amount of attention like that. Yeah, there's no playbook. There is no playbook. Like there's only been like 300 or 400 people in the world who have dealt with it, who are open about it. You know what I mean? And even finding them is like extremely difficult.
Wait, so what's this bullying situation?
Let me just finish the thing.
For sure.
So I see that tweet and I get confused, and I think like maybe a day before that I had found him on Instagram and I followed him, and then so once I followed him on Instagram, I saw that he had messaged me before, and it said, bro, just at me next time. And I didn't know what that was about. I thought it was just like a joke. I was like, oh, okay, so he's seen something of mine before, like you know, he's replying. I had no idea what that was. But then once that tweet came, then I was like, oh, does this have something to do with that Instagram thing? So then I saw it. I was like, what is this about? And then luckily Instagram has the archives.
Yeah.
So then I saw the date it was sent, and then I went back, and then I saw that he had I had like pretty much done one of those troll things where he had
I think you put like
tweeted,
the feet on like my head or something.
so you had quote tweeted a Ronopono video, which is our cultural comedy channel, and you had said, can we bring back cyberbullying? The irony. But
oh no.
Quote tweeted it.
I totally brought that on myself, for the record, at that time.
So he said, can we bring back cyberbullying, please?
Are you sure you're not from the UK? Because that sounds like a UK tweet right there.
Yo, don't cut. We're not about to get canceled by UK.
Yeah, we're about to
get
canceled. UK's coming after us.
So sorry. So sorry, UK Twitter. You're great.
Yeah, so I see that, and his name at the time said, "Send me ankle pics." So
DM me ankle. DM me. It was at DM me your ankles. This was before I changed to Imranye everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Good rebrand.
That was a good rebrand.
I'm very PC now.
I replied back to his tweet.
Oh wait, hold on. I just realized what that means. Sorry.
Yeah, so
it took me a minute to catch on.
I had replied to his tweet about the cyberbullying with a picture of my ankle.
Oh, God.
And it was November at the time, November. And so I was like, try to wait till November's over, Imran. So this was all screenshotted and posted on my Instagram. And he had replied to that saying, just at me next time, bro. So I was like,
before like anything.
Yeah. Cause I wasn't like, I think you like when like you like cropped my name out of it, which is like, I guess, but then also like, so then I was like, this at me, I think. But honestly, it's been so long.
No. So it wasn't, I just didn't have you added on Instagram. Oh, it still said, the joke was that it said DM me ankle, DM me your ankles. So obviously I'm not like looking up your Instagram or whatever. I didn't know you, but like mostly when that happens, either people are usually like, yo, okay, you got me or whatever, or they start going off on like they're like, yo, like you're not even this or that, whatever. And I just like leave it as is. I have a whole a series on YouTube which I have like, it's called Diss Track to the Comment Section, where I don't get to beef with anybody as like a rapper, so I'll go through the comment section and like beef with the people and just troll them. So like that's something I do. So like I love trolling and all that. So anyways, I saw all of that and then I was confused, so I just like screenshot all that and I was like, it seems like what happened was that I trolled you, trolling me back. So I was like, so I'm confused what the thing is. Like, please don't make it more than what it is. Cause I was just like, yo, what? Like, I'm not trying to have beef with this dude. I don't even know at all.
Or be Frost the cyberbully.
Yeah, Frost is cyberbully.
Yeah. Cause like, if that had happened, then for sure I would want to like, I would want to have the same thing where like, either I invite you on here, we have a conversation, whatever might be the case. But, you know, that had, that wasn't in my control at the time. So I was like, all right, he posted this publicly, so I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, give my piece and let people determine for themselves, like what the scenario is here, whatever. He didn't reply back to it or anything. I left it as is. And I'll talk about it later about why I did that. But eventually SHAH-AMEER was actually over and he was like, yo, like that apology is crazy. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I think I had just seen on Twitter that it said Imranye tweets, I want to publicly apologize to Frosty. And I was like, what? And that was, I think did we exchange DMs before that or no?
I don't remember.
Oh, you know what? We didn't. I DM'd you. I like replied publicly and I said it's all good. And then I DM'd you and I was like, yo, man, like just wanted to set the record. Like I don't have
I
anything.
think one of your boys, I forgot who's the other.
It was
guy?
my brother. It was
his
my
brother.
it was my little brother.
Oh, is that who that is?
He had DM'd you and I was like, and when he showed me that, I was like, please don't like do that, because he had brought up a lot of things about like, you know, bullying is serious and this and that. I was like, that's not my thing. And although, you know, I'm like, I respect it and you're right, that's not what my problem is here. It's just that like I felt like you were doing it for the clout or whatever might be the case.
100% I was.
And so I was like, I'm not gonna like let my reputation be ruined. That's my main thing, by someone who's like making up something essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was like it started and it stopped like
within a day. Like yeah, it was like literally within a day. Like,
a week or something.
Yeah.
So now you explain yourself, Mr. Imranye.
Yeah, I got a lot of explaining to do here. I guess for like the first, so before that first tweet where I was like, yo, can we bring back cyberbullying? That was around the time when I didn't realize that like people who are like influencers like actually read the comments, right? It was part of that whole like, oh, I don't give a fuck brand. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, but
It's okay.
It's fine. Yeah, you're good.
yeah. It was part of that whole brand at the time of me just being like just completely out of pocket, whatever. And of course, you know, there's some arrogance involved in there as well. You know,
But you're basically just trolling the comments.
yeah, 100%. Basically,
Which also
comments,
like
right?
we take those as a joke anyways, which is why I was like, all right, let me like play back. So it wasn't like anything weird.
And then like obviously, so the thing about like, you know, like tag me next time is that like, because when you posted it, like literally like 20 people DM'd it to me.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Like they're like, yo, did you see this? I'm like, yeah, I saw it. Like it's fine. Like it's fine. Like it's like I know what I was getting into. Like so yeah, that kind of like obviously like pissed me off a little bit. Just maybe not like the trolling, but just like the people DMing you is like, yo, you see this, like whatever.
And yeah, like your face is on, you know, someone's story and it can be perceived in whatever way.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
so that part was like kind of was what I was just like, but obviously, you know, after like a week or whatever, it's just whatever.
Yeah. No, fair.
And then obviously once you get like clout or some sort of success, right? Whatever that means, whatever that metric is, or are surrounded by people who are saying that you're more successful than you actually are, you have more clout than you actually are, blah, blah, blah. You do have like this ego that says like, you know, you start thinking like, you know, you know, if you listen to like rap music, like all these rappers talking about like, oh, you weren't with me when I was down, like, you know, now I'm up, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you think that you're hot shit and you can start saying stuff like that. So that was the position I was in. I was in like,
Brown
yo,
boy
like,
anthem.
I was like, yo, this dude, like, I thought I was hot shit. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, like, who does this dude think he is? Like, where was he at a year ago? He was clowning me, this, that, whatever. I had completely forgot this. I had completely forgot that I was the one who initiated this as well, too, right? So I think that was part of it.
Instagram with the receipts.
Yo, bro, big
He
shout out to
wasn't
Instagram,
ready.
bro.
He
Because
wasn't
Such
ready.
that was a different account, too. That was a
It's
different
like
account.
the Incredibles type thing. Like it was just that little kid on the sidewalk, and then he came
Syndrome?
back, like,
Syndrome.
and just came back and was like mad.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah,
not
and you know
that's not
what?
how that went, Amber. He was like Syndrome was like a fan of
Fan in the beginning.
Right.
the beginning.
He was never a fan in the beginning.
Well, he was trolling, so he was watching.
I saw y'all at Upna. How about that? I saw y'all at Upna.
You did?
Whoa,
I saw
what
y'all
the
at
heck?
Upna. I was just
Dang.
there. I was just chilling. Like
Oh,
that
that's
was like a very
crazy.
last minute trip.
Damn.
My boys were just in Dallas, and I was like, yeah, I'll slide through. That was an interesting day. I met Subhi Taha at your concert, I think.
Wow.
and
Yeah.
he like went off on us.
Yeah, he went off on us too.
Okay, I
on
didn't come
Twitter,
for
too.
your concert. Okay, I was just at Upna.
Yeah, no, I'm saying,
No,
but it's funny that like he was there
Yeah.
also, and he was he didn't like stuff that we were posting as well.
Who, Subhi Taha?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if he was like, you know how like it was like back-to-back concerts in like that one space.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was there for yours or not.
No, he definitely
Interesting.
wasn't. He definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
What's
so-
Subi Taha?
What is it? It's a
Sorry.
that's too
person.
much.
Sorry. We'll get
Another,
into this
let's
after.
just say he's another influencer and
Yeah. YouTuber,
creator,
yeah.
artist.
Yeah. All of
Makes
the
really
above.
cool stuff.
Yeah. Shout out him.
Yeah.
Shout out. He definitely paved the way and really crafted kind of like a little bit of like a playbook of like what you should do when you get clout, right, as a Muslim. Because I think he notoriously early on would just block people. And like I used to think like, oh, like that's like a very loser mentality or whatever. But when
Wait,
you
so,
really think, go ahead,
I
go
mean, I want to ask, like, what made you tweet out that apology? Like, how'd you come to that? And like, because it takes a certain level of self-awareness, and like sometimes people, you said that your ego was through the roof at the moment when you did it. Like, it takes a certain amount of like humbleness or like, you know, wanting to, you know, just like step back and step down to be able to do that. So like, what made you do that?
part of it was the DM from his brother. I think that was like I saw that and I was like, I wasn't sure if like, you know, he was actually taking it to heart or not, but I was like, you know what, like on the day of judgment, I don't want to be asked about some Twitter.
No, and my brother, brother took it to heart far more than I just like. I just thought, I was like, what the hell? And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
but he was like, you know, he didn't like that because he was also like, you know, having some TikTok clout at the time and all that, and I guess he was coming up with like a few of like other Muslim creators, Pakistani creators, and I think he thought that he was like checking you in that way.
For sure,
for
Which
reason,
listen, bro, maybe I needed to be checked at that time. You know what I'm saying? And there are many times where I have needed to be checked, and it has happened. So, like, it is what it is. Like, I'm very grateful to have like that kind of friend group around me. You know what I mean? Like people who will check me. You know,
That's
and it's
good.
taken a while to like forge that, right? Because that's not something you find. It's something that's like made over time, and people find you, right? Especially like mentors and stuff like that. Like you don't find mentors; they find you, right? And then they guide you and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, part of receiving that level of attention, and there was a point where like the message that I normally go to for Jumu'ah, right? Like I would go and like literally like 50 kids would walk up to me and be like, yo, there's a guy on TikTok, this, that. It almost became, and like I was traveling a lot of the time too, right? Like I mentioned, like I was going to San Diego, going to LA. Every single mosque I went to, there was at least one person who walked up to me and was like, yo, dude, like I love your TikToks, whatever.
Would you be like praying and then feel like there's
Dude, literally,
eyes on
I'd
you
be
or
like about to
something
pray sunnah, right? And I feel like people are watching me.
Yeah.
And that shit's like, I was just paranoid. I was paranoid. Like,
oh, you didn't like it?
I didn't like it. The first couple times it was cool, but then you catch like a kid like taking pics or whatever, like trying to be low key about it. Like I had got invited to this thing called MSA West, which is like, you know, it's just all the West Coast MSAs, all the California MSAs like have this one big thing. And I think that was the worst thing for me to ever go to because because it destroyed my ego so much because I was brought in as like when I got there and people started treating me like a celebrity, like at scale, You know what I mean? Like I was never in an environment where that many Muslim kids around like the same age were like around me, right? You know what I mean? And they were, I mean, like, and I don't want to say I was taking advantage of it, but like definitely like using the clout, you know what I'm saying? And I think that was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was an amazing weekend, and big shout out to them for bringing me out. Like I tried to help any way I could, but at the end of the day, like I wish I could have went to that conference as just a normal person. Right. It got to the point where like, you know, there's like this L-shaped lobby before you go into the auditorium. Right. I would want to go to the auditorium for a session. Right. By the time I get through from the entrance to the session, maybe it's not like, you know, paparazzi or like whatever, but like people asking for pics, people wanting to talk, and knowing me, like, you know, like I'm there to meet people and network. Right. So like I want to give them my full attention. But basically, by the time I get through, the hour-long session's over. And this happened like 5 times. I didn't benefit at all Islamically from that event. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like I just went there to just hang out and look cool, which is like not the point.
Did you think that was? Did you know that was going to happen when you went there?
No, I wasn't even planning on going to MSA West until they reached out, and they were like, "Yo, can you do like a promo, like TikTok, whatever?" Because I was new to the area, right? Like I had only been in California for like 4 or 5 months. I had, you know, this was just like 2 or 3 months in from TikTok. Okay. And I was like, you know what, I can shoot a 15-second video to get a free ticket to MSA West. Like, why not, right? But yeah, I mean, like that's why I'm kind of glad that ICNA got canceled this year. I think like it would have been definitely detrimental for me. You know what I mean? Because I've always gone to ICNA as like especially it's in your area, right? DMV usually. Yeah. I've always gone to ICNA and always benefited. You know what I mean, from the speakers and stuff like that. Last time I went to ICNA, I had like a little bit of Twitter clout, and you know, like I was hanging out with some friends and this and that. But I feel like, you know, I wouldn't have been able to benefit as much if it happened this year and I went this year. You know, I feel like I would have just went to go look cool and build up my ego and stuff like that.
It seems like Islam like plays a big part of your life in a daily sense. Like, has that always been the case? Have you always grown up around the mosque?
Yeah, I grew up in the masjid. That's so I guess for context, my like elementary school, middle school, high school was in the inner city. And so, you know, and we grew up, especially my father specifically, like we grew up in the masjid. Like every Friday, like I would go with my dad for Fajr, and then my uncle would pick me up, take me out for breakfast, right? And then drop me off at school. Saturdays and Sundays, always in the masjid hanging out. I used to teach like weekend school for like a good 5 years, right? So like
Sunday school?
Yeah. So like a good like 5 or 6 years almost, I think, including like TAing and stuff. So it's always been a very central part of my life. And especially like I got to see like kind of a lot of different walks of life, right? You go to school in the inner city, and then you kind of go to the masjid. You know, there's different masajids. Some are like, you know, more downtown, some are in the suburbs. And so I was able to really like learn how to communicate and kind of relate with different people. And so I always come back to that because like the masjid is what built me to who I am today, right? And I mean, like you said, like I think I try to make my life revolve around like Islam and like especially Salah, right? Like you guys are asking me like, yo, like I go to sleep at like right after Isha, wake up to catch Fajr probably right before sunrise usually, and then like nap for an hour, get back up, you know, work till the hood, and then pray, meetings, pray, like that, you know what I'm saying? So I try to really integrate it. I mean, even like, you know, when I'm working in California at my company, like we like everyone makes sure that we build the day around Salah. Like we pray together. Everyone
like with your
has
coworkers?
Like, yeah, like we have like a good like on some days we have like 10 or 12 people praying together, right? Before COVID and everything. Everyone has their calendars blocked out for that time. Like we have like a Muslim employee network and everything like that. So those kinds of things have always been like the driving center of my life. And then obviously I have deviated a lot, right? Like whether because of the clout or like the content creation or because of the music or whatever it is at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's really interesting because like with us too, it's you know, we're definitely nowhere near perfect ourselves, and we've had to learn a lot throughout this process. Especially I think, you know, one of the things is that we caught like the viral thing very early on, like being kids and kind of going through that whole fame thing where you're interacting with people online that you don't know, and kind of like got that out of the system. And I think that it was almost the opposite to you, where it was just like we didn't sort of have that connection as much, or I'll speak for myself, you know, And the more that these kids and a lot of the fans started coming in, I felt a source of responsibility. And then now when we go to places like mosques around the country, or like an event like ICNA or whatever, maybe the case, UPNA or anything, we enjoy that like sort of attention, because we're being looked at as like role models at that point. And you know, there's nothing that although, you know, there might be things that we post online here and there that are like, maybe that wasn't a good idea or whatever, or our intention wasn't perceived the way that we intended to. It's still like for the most part, either people like it or they don't. And for the people that do, like, you know, when they see us, they sort of come up, and it reinforces that sort of like sense of responsibility and to be like, you know, a better human being, a better Muslim, whatever might be the case. So it's interesting to hear that you kind of like, you know, grew up already around that sort of you know, sense of responsibility and like importance of your faith, and then the Twitter and all the social media clout kind of like almost took you away from that, which I guess
Well,
like a lot
not
of people.
almost. It did take me away from that.
Okay.
And I think, you know, obviously one shift that I had to make in my head was like understanding that, you know, the clout or the attention or the platform or whatever it is, like, it is not my thing. I didn't build it, right? Like, it's from Allah. Allah is using it as a test, right? Allah tests people with money. He tests people with health. He tests people with family, right? This is another test, you know, like platforms that are being built for you. And once I started looking at it like that, it gave me a lot more clarity into like, okay, you know, the youth are listening to me. I'm not a scholar. I pretend to be on the internet for jokes, but I'm not a scholar. And because I'm funny, people listen to what I have to say. So that being said, what's really important for me is like the people who I use this big, you know, cannon of a platform that I have to be people that are beneficial to the ummah, right? And so that's where kind of like the natural like inclination to go back to the masjid came, because it was like, you know, who are the scholars who are giving the message in a way that's, you know, that's digestible by the youth who don't have the necessary platforms that they have, right? So Mufti Muhammad Wasim Khan is a good example of that. You know, there's so many people who like I will go through, like even for example, Imam Dawud Walid, right? He's a very prominent African-American imam. I don't know where he's based out of. I met him once, but like all of his voice is very important in a time like now, because he's African-American. He's a revert, but he's also, you know, he's very level-headed in his views, right? But he necessarily doesn't have the same platform or doesn't have the same kind of pull that someone like me or you has, right? So part of what we have to do, exactly, part of what we have to do is give these people the cosign and then also push their message, right? The same way that like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam like used the Sahaba and their resources and their time and their money to spread the message, we have to use our resources and our minds to spread the message. So once I had that kind of moment of clarity, I was like, okay, what am I really putting out in the world, right? Like, it's okay to make people laugh. That's fine. I'm okay with that, right? But I should be putting out more beneficial stuff because I have a platform, you know? So once I made that shift, I was able to really begin the process of like correcting my intentions, you know?
And you know, during that time, like I always try to consider when I do troll somebody or, you know, make something that is to make fun of, if it is coming from a place of like, let's play this game, or if it's like a malicious thing, like let me end you type of thing. And whenever I choose people for like the ones where I'm like doing the diss track to the comments, like I'll look through their stuff and make sure that it's like they don't actually have like a problem or something, or that they don't know any better, or they're too young to know, or whatever might be the case. Like, it's supposed to be for fun. So when I saw that, like, you know, for me, it could also have been an opportunity where it was like, yo, this guy has like all this clout, like I could end him in this way. Like I could think that way, but I went through your stuff, and at the time, like, you know, you were revealing a decent amount about yourself. And what I sort of sensed was, you know, you were saying some very like personal things on the app. And even when you had written that apology, it was like there was a lot of people that were kind of like after you for whatever reason, and you were issuing lots of apologies. And so I was like, oh, like there's some sort of, you know, insecurity almost behind this. And I didn't want to like be the judge of it and point that out, you know, publicly or anything. But I just sensed that there was something there that was like, that was causing some sort of bitterness. And it would be, it wouldn't be like he was playing back and forth like a game or something. It would come across as like a malicious type thing. And you know, like people had asked me like, yo, like that guy, like, are you gonna get him back and stuff? Like, are you gonna like write a diss track or whatever? And I've never like done that for like a real person before. So I was like, no, like, I think that, you know, he's going through something. And I think I'll just, you know, let it be.
If you're willing to share some of that, like, do you mind?
Yeah, for sure. I was
gonna
dive right into it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the way that you grow on Twitter right now is by beefing with people. And so I had done that early on, right? Like I'm completely guilty of that. And there are some people who still have me blocked that I've tried to reach out to apologize, this or that. Like,
and that was calculated, like you were beefing with people for Clout?
Well, I will like first you just beef with people just for fun, but then you notice the numbers go up, right? And then it's like, well, you know, well, this is working, right? And there, I mean, I'm not going to drop any names because I don't want to really put anyone, you know, under the spot, but there are people on the Muslim Twitter, or people who maybe don't want to call themselves part of Muslim Twitter, but are part of Muslim Twitter, who, you know, have grown through beefing, right? And it's a very good strategy. Like, it works, right? It gets people on your side, right? Because people love to see a hero, right? They love to see someone who's calling people out, right? It's like that whole, like that lack of, you know, it's like that whole, when people treat like minor league celebrities as if they're actual celebrity, right? The same way that, you know, a lot of like clothing brands that are smaller might still get heat for maybe not knowing exactly where their like shirts are sourced, right? Things like that. Because when you try to come at a Nike or a Google, right, your voice is not heard, right? But if you try to come at someone like us, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, their voice is heard.
Loud and clear. Yeah.
It's loud and clear, right? We know people who got dirt. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it works. That's how the world works. It's not like, I don't know the Nike CEO. I don't even know his friend or anybody who knows the Nike CEO to even be able to get some dirt on this man, right? But, you know, no one's perfect here, right? And no one's ever going to be perfect. It's just that some people sin in different ways, and some sins are considered more or less like bad, right? We struggle with this, right? Like how, like, you know, drinking alcohol is perceived worse as backbiting, but I'm sure it's probably the opposite, right? Like, one is worse than the other. So yeah, I mean, at the time I was getting a lot of heat because obviously I was acting like a complete douchebag, like, as we know, right? And it started to catch up with me. Definitely was just like being super reckless and just taking advantage of the clout and stuff like that. So honestly, I was being attacked from all angles. Like, you know, saying there's people like who had me blocked. You know, like when you have someone blocked, you can view their tweets. Like, people who've had me blocked. Yeah, if you have someone blocked, you can actually still view their tweets, but they can't view your tweets.
Oh, okay.
So there were people who had me blocked who were screenshotting my tweets and just tweeting like extremely hateful things to like their 8, 10, 12,000 followers. And I had no idea this was going on.
Oh, okay.
No idea.
So people were also trying to take advantage of you in that way
100%,
and like expose
100%.
You for the clout.
Because how much cooler does it look if you take down someone who's bigger than you, right? Like, it's like, oh, he took down the giant. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, I was acting like the giant, right? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it was. You know, you were dealing with that.
You had that. You were the talk.
Yeah, I was the talk of the town at the time, right? Like, you know, like, unfortunately, I don't know why, but I was taking advantage of that.
Do your like fans or supporters like always take your side, or, you know, a lot of the time?
I urge them to look at everything very level-headedly, because I'm very public. Like, look, I'm not perfect at all. I'm still figuring this out. And I think part of that vulnerability is like what makes like my core like supporters like more than core supporters, right? Like, I've noticed that like being more like vulnerable with like my audience, obviously to an extent, you don't want to share too much, but being very vulnerable with your audience, like, it helps them build that like very authentic connection. So yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. But
my question more so had to do with like you said in the beginning too that you struggled with mental health, and that moment might have been kind of showing that. And if what is your, because you know spent a lot of time in the mosque and grew up in the mosque, what is the connection between like dealing with mental health and Islam at the same time?
Anytime my salah slips up, anytime I'm like that's the main. Anytime my salah slips up, basically I just relapse, just get more depressed. I'm not saying this is like the cure to anything at all. It's just something I've noticed in my life. Anxiety is through the roof. Like I'm having mental breakdowns, like panic attacks, whenever my salah is not right. That's just how my life has operated. So you know, whether or not, you know, religion is like a hedge against the fact of whether or not a God exists, right? So at the end of the day, you know, if there is no God, if Allah doesn't exist, which I hate to say that, but even if he doesn't, me practicing Islam has made my life better, right?
It's
so
like giving you a structure.
Exactly. So when I lose that structure is when things go AWOL.
Yeah.
And around that time, I was losing that structure, you know, combined with the fact that I had all this attention and I thought I was hot shit, you know what I mean? Like, that's what happens, you know?
Since everything that you've went through since then, what's your plan going forward when it comes to dealing with internet fame and your personal like career?
Yeah, because your Twitter name right now is Modern Imam TikTok Guy, but struggling to rebrand.
That's so perfect too. It's so funny.
So that's my, yeah. And so the actual rebrand is that I'm someone who's rebranding. I think a lot of people don't get that that's the joke. The joke is that like I'm rebranding. I don't know what that means. I'm figuring it out, but I'm bringing everyone along the ride, right? So now if you look through my mentions on Twitter, like you have like, you know, startup founders who have been through Y Combinator. You have like, you know, your Twitter meme lords. Like it's weird. It's all over the place, right? Because I'm all over the place, right? Like I'm not a very singular focused person.
Not one thing.
Not yet, at least, right? Like, yeah, I'm like a full-time software engineer, but I also love art and design, but I'm also into business and finance and all types of things. And I want my Twitter to reflect that, because at the end of the day, like, you know, if I'm being authentic, right, then my followers are going to be extremely authentic, you know? So what's next for me? I don't know. I'm evaluating my options. I have some good mentors in my corner, but I definitely am going to lay off the content creation game. I think for the longest time, I equated making content with making money, right? And to an extent, there is some sort of correlation there. But I think the bigger skill set is actually building a business, right? And if content fits into that business, whatever, like, so be it. But right now, Muslim influencers are so cheap, like, you know, per like call it CPM rates to get a Muslim influencer is so low that like, it's really not worth my time to keep continuing to pursue this if the end goal is to build a business, right? If I'm building a business in the Muslim space, right? Like, why spend all this time creating content? Like this 5 Pillars hoodie, right? Like, shout out 5 Pillars, shout out Farag. Like, I didn't ask for any money for this, right? I was just like, yeah, you know, and many Muslim influencers don't ask for money anyway. They're like, yeah, just send me free stuff, right? Like, we're probably one of the lowest priced influencers. Like, you take a you know, a Muslim kid who has like 50,000 followers on TikTok, he's still gonna take a free hoodie and rock it in 3 videos. You know what I mean? Just because like, you know, it's been a race to the bottom almost. You know, people are just so excited to be like sent free stuff that they forget that, you know, they may or may not have the ability to like sell it.
A lot of our things that, you know, when people want to collaborate with a quote unquote Muslim influencer also is that like, it has to do with a lot of charity related things, nonprofits. And a lot of times it's like, they'll give you the option of, you know, you can, you know, get this much money for it, or you can choose to donate it. And then it's like, as a Muslim kid, then you're just like, well, yeah, I mean, I'll donate it, you know.
That's why I like what LaunchGood did this year with the Ramadan challenge,
right?
Where for every, like, they would pay you for referrals, and they'd also donate 5 times that to whatever cause you want, right? And I think they navigated that really well, right?
Yeah, my brother was a part of that, and he showed me everything. It was like, this is really cool that, like, you know, they take care of you, and you know, there's not that sort of thing where it's just like, oh yeah, you choose one thing or the other. It's like, no, like, you've done this for us, so we will accommodate. And also, like, you're raising money, and you know, and if you choose to have a percentage of that into it, then everybody gets to feel good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, because like, you know, with the LaunchGood Ramadan challenge, like, because of, you know, alhamdulillah, because Allah allowed me and like my followers and everything to like get so many signups, like we were able to donate more money than I would have been able to donate on my own, right? Like that's cool. You know what I'm saying? That's cool to me because like maybe I don't have the money right now, but the fact that I have the reach is super important. And maybe that's more valuable. Who knows? You know?
Yeah. Before we wrap up, what else do you have going on? What you want to talk about, like the Hasanat House or
Yeah.
the-
So I guess I'll briefly touch on that because Hasanat House is also going through a large rebrand, reprocess, everything.
Is this your thing?
It
Or
is
is
my
something
thing.
you're-
So
okay.
yeah. I don't like the term founder, but I guess you could say I founded it. So,
Well, no, it helps because like then everyone knows that okay, this is like, you know, if
yeah.
they're
So
influenced
Hasanat
by
House
you or
is it started off with a newsletter called Dua Daily that I launched in January. It's literally just a straightforward newsletter. Every morning you get a dua straight in your email, right? Pretty straightforward, but people love it. One thing about email is that it's expensive to run email newsletters. Sometimes you're talking like some months it's like $120 to $200 just because we're sending out, like nobody is sending out like the volume of email we're sending, right? Like daily emails, 5 to 7 days a week. Like that's not normal in the marketing world. So we started racking up just a fat bill. We were just like, yo, this is bread. And it's like, I can donate. I don't mind paying for this. But also at the same time, I think, it's okay to fund Islamic projects and have people donate and then use that money to grow them. So I opened up donations like shortly after, we saw how large of a bill this was bringing up. And people just started donating, right? So we were able to cover the costs and then a little bit more. So I took that extra money that we had and I went to my friend Hamza Khwaja. A lot of people know him but don't know that they know him. He's the guy on LinkedIn who interned 10 times. Like his brand is like 10-time intern. And like he gives out like internship tips. Like I'm sure everybody has seen his posts. But mashallah, really smart dude. He took that concept and he ran with it, and he's doing twice a week hadith newsletter. So we pick a hadith, and the concept was we break it down like how to apply to school, how to apply to work, how to apply to home. So that's running. And then also after that I launched like a 99 Names of Allah app under that Hasanat House label. And all of those, did really well, over 1,000 users each, which is like a good benchmark for us. So now because, we've been able to secure a little bit of funding, I want to kind of take that to the next level. So the idea is to build products that, remind people of Islam, the religion, help them learn, but do it at scale, right? So, harnessing the latest technologies to do that, right? So notoriously, one of my close friends, his name's Abdul Latif, he runs this project called Tartil, which is basically like Shazam for the Quran, right? So like you can just you can just like recite into your phone and it'll tell you exactly what ayah, what surah, everything, pull it up right in front of you. If you're memorizing, it hides it for you, and then as you recite, it fills it in, so you said it right.
Wow.
And that's using like artificial intelligence and machine
What
learning.
is this again?
It's called Tartil, TARTEEL.io.
Is it out right now?
Yeah, it's been out. It's been out. Yeah, it works. Like I don't think people realize how crazy, how good it is. Like, I've done a little bit of promo for him, and like people are blown away because they don't know this stuff exists, right? Like, yeah, it's literally Shazam for the Quran. Like that's. Imagine you walk into like Tarawih next year, right? And you don't know what page they're on. You can just open up Tartil and it'll tell you. Like that's ridiculous. Like that's cool. That's like that's powerful, right? I have some friends working on like a smart zakat calculator called Zakat.FYI. All types of stuff, right? That Silicon Valley Muslim tech bro culture, right? So taking that, but doing it from more like a social media side of things, right? Because that's what I have a little bit more expertise.
That's your expertise. There you go. Yeah,
right. But I'm still a technologist, but at the end of the day, that's more, something as simple as, a daily dua. It's not about the access is there. Like anybody can go Google search duas, right? But for a lot of people, it sucks that we think like this, but that's like a really daunting task, right? To go like seek out a book and open it up or search it, whatever. But something that's very digestible, like a daily just email, right? It just works for people, right? And inshallah, they're able to benefit, and I'm able to reap the rewards of that, and my kids and everybody who helped with this project, right? So we are in the middle of, I guess that kind of was like a bunch of products cobbled together. But I have a larger vision for that, and that's to do more on the content marketing side, right? So, obviously email marketing is content marketing, but I want to go hard on Instagram. We had a really good Instagram presence, but I think the content creation was just not scalable, right? It takes a long time to create an Instagram post. Even if you streamline it, even if you use templates, like it's still like very time consuming. So working on automating that backend process and then being able to just schedule it out so that, you know, it posts 4 times a day for the next year and a half and we're just good, you know, and just letting that run and support itself. Because I think at the end of the day, like if you put out enough good stuff, people are going to open their wallets and fund it because they want more like it, right? And it's like, this is not going to be my main business at all. I'm not banking on it at all. I just want it to be a self-sustaining project, which it already is. And now that we have a little extra money, we have a little funding, I want to grow it. So.
What is your main business? You keep saying like, that's not my business. This is not my business. What's your main?
He's rebranding. He doesn't know.
No, I mean, I do a lot of things outside of work. I think the main kind of side business, like that doesn't even sound right. The main side business is working with a lot of your favorite Muslim brands and nonprofits to help them with social media strategy and content creation.
Cool.
So I'm not very public about that. It's very like closed door, like, you know, like we just have a couple, like I don't publicize that I'm working with them. It's more of like these things happened organically and then I'm turning that into
nice. More. So does this mean that we're not going to be seeing any more Imran TikToks or anything if you're going away from content creation?
If I think of stuff, maybe. I mean,
yeah.
But honestly,
like if it comes naturally.
If it comes naturally, yeah, I don't want it to be forced at all. Like some, like, you know, like the PS5, like all of the Imam PS5 jokes, like those wrote themselves, right? Like you might like, you know what I'm saying? Like give us one, give us a good one. A day, you know, like that type of stuff just rolls off the tongue, right? But anytime it's like difficult to come up with a piece of content, I'm never gonna force it. You know, creative people have to have multiple outlets, you know, because you're gonna be burnt out of one thing and you're gonna go to the next thing and come back to it.
For sure. Why don't you let people know where they can find you wherever you choose to be?
At Imranye on everything.
There we go.
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I guess I have a Facebook page too because you need that or something to run ads.
Simple and easy. I do want to say before we ask you our last question, I appreciate you a lot for coming on, being open and honest. You know, awesome. I told SHAH-AMEER and Amber as well about our conversation that we had, and that, you know, the goal here was to try to understand there's going to be a lot of people after you and currently like you that are going to go through a lot of what you go through. And you know, we try to be open and honest on our podcast about the things that we go through, but the key here was to really like never to embarrass you in any way. And I apologize if I did say anything
not at all,
that was
not at all, bro,
at all invasive or whatever. But no, I appreciate you a lot for you know, coming on here. And it takes a lot for somebody to be like, yo, let me confront or you know, come up and do this, regardless of that, like very respectable thing, an honorable thing for you to do. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no problem, bro. No problem. It's part of like I said, it's all about giving back, right? Like, so inshallah, my hope is that one person listens to this and learns one thing. That's it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like, I'm doing things that scale on the side, but you know what I'm saying? Like these conversations are an immense opportunity for people like you and I to really like change the discourse around everything we do, right? So it's important.
And personally too, it's just like, I love your content. I want to be able to root for you. And we have mutual friends. So when that thing happened, I was like, yeah, I'm not even going to touch this because I don't want to like make it any worse or whatever. And so I'm glad that, you know, we can be on that page again, and you never know when, like, you know.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people who are not ready to be on that page with me, whether they did stuff or I did stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's I appreciate it a lot because, you know, it takes a lot on your end too to be like, to keep pestering me like, yo, let's do this podcast. I was like, all right, let's do it. Like, you know, so.
No, yeah. And we had a schedule thing too. So it's, you were on top of it. Like, let's do it. You know, called me right away. So that's awesome. So this is Strange Flavors. At the end of every podcast, we ask our guests like one specific question. So Amber, if you want to take that away.
If you could describe yourself as any flavor, what flavor would it be and why?
I could describe myself as any flavor. What flavor could I be?
It could be any flavor.
Dude, I have to go with the lemon.
Okay.
Because people who like lemons, like they know there's like pain associated with it. You know what I mean? But they just still love it, right? It's like, it's so good. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's me. That's me. That's me as a person. They're like, yo, this dude's like kind of annoying, but like I'm into it.
Huh.
So yeah, that's me.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's
I didn't
amazing.
think I'd be able to.
That was
think of one on the
fast.
spot.
That was
Yeah,
quick.
that was
That
quick.
was
That was
good.
quick.
That was good.
No, that's a perfect answer too. Like that's if you can look at yourself in that way, like that's hilarious and
Like I'm
that's
just
awesome.
completely self-aware about the fact that I'm like annoying. Like you know what I mean? Like, but like,
Dude, you're
there's
not
a-
annoying, and you're not like you're if anything, I think people would see you as cute, like
Yeah.
like a fun,
adorable.
cute person. Like
there's a threshold, right? Where like if you keep beating up a dead joke, right? So they'll say like the first 5 times you say this same joke, like it's funny, right? And then the next 100 times you say it, it's just annoying. But that like 101st time, it becomes hilarious just for the fact that they've stuck with it. That's what I always reach
that's
for.
interesting.
That's what I always go for. Like even with the simp tweets or whatever, like I'm gonna drop 4 simp tweets a day, and you're not gonna think it's funny until next year this time. But like that's okay with me. You know, I'm playing the long game. People are gonna be like 28, like damn, this guy's still simping on Twitter. I'm like, yep. I'll be married and with 4 kids inshallah by then. But you know what? I'm gonna still act like a simp on Twitter because it's funny. You know?
Oh
That's
my
awesome, man. I'm glad that you're able to look at yourself and enjoy the process of that and be at this awesome place. It's nice to see you, you know, like enjoying it and being so comfortable. So again, thank you for coming on here. And we wish you the best of luck with everything going forward, all your rebranding and all the business ventures and all that. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening to another episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little a stranger.
We'll talk to you next time.
That was a nice outro. That's cute. Y'all practice that on FaceTime.